Let's have a look at them for 2023. Of course, stormed in to make the 8 at the end of last year, which took a lot of people by surprise. 14 wins, 10 losses, which is a very solid season. No real ins for 2023, which is interesting. Significant outs being probably top of the list, Josh Hodgson, even though he didn't play last year. Chance Nickel-Klookstar, Ryan Sutton and Adam Elliott. How do you see their season playing out, Mick?
Yeah, they had a weird year, didn't they, in 2022? You thought, all hope was lost, but Jamal Fogarty came back into that side after missing the first 3 months, and they started to form that combination. He took a bit of pressure off Jack Whiten, and you see when Jack plays his best, it's with a controlling 7. The 7 doesn't have to do too much, but they run the show, and we saw it. He played his best football prior with George Williams, and we saw glimpses of that again last year with Jamal Fogarty there. But I think they lose a bit in their depth with Sutton, Elliott gone. They were two reliable players, although Sutton fell out of the top 17 at stages last year. I still think he was a valuable contributor when he was in the squad. A lot's going to depend, to me, is Xavier Savage at fullback. He looks like a guy that has the it factor. They let Chance go because of their faith that they've got in young Savage, and for him, it's just a matter of trying to stop floating in between games, I guess, and within games, and trying to find that dynamic football, which takes some time for those young players in those full 80 minutes. But still question marks over the dummy half as well. Tom Starling hadn't played a lot of 80 minutes of footy. They're going to sign Danny Levi. Well, that hasn't been made official yet, I'm not sure. That alleviates some pressure there for them as well in terms of their hook in depth.
15 games last year for Jamal Fogarty, and he came in round 12, won 10, lost 5. So did we, the market, and by extension, did the Gold Coast Titans underestimate what Jamal Fogarty does for this team? Because that's it. That you look at that squad and you go, okay, Jack Whiten is a high-quality player, but he needs someone directing the team around, because that's not Jack's strength. Jack's strength is running the footy, kicking a little bit, but every now and once a game out on the full. But running a team, that's not where Jack needs to go. The other thing, I would get concerned about this squad and all squads that don't have fresh players coming in that are going to be automatic into the 17. I think every squad needs to be rejuvenated in that way. I don't see it with this Canberra Raiders side. They had a heavy reliance, especially at the back end of the year, on what their two big front rowers were doing, Papali'i and Tapani. Tapani was superb at the back end of that year, so he's going to be asked to do that again. I think Hudson Young is an emerging player.
He kicked on that back half of
big
the year.
Big time. But then you start looking at, I like what you're saying about Xavier Savage. I think there is an outstanding player in there because physically he's got everything. That X-factor speed. He'll grow. We'll see that story about him putting on 5 kilos. He'll have the passing game as well. So that's a threat. I'm just worried about the threat. When you start looking to their bench and you've got Tommy Starling, Corey Harawira-Naira, Emre Gula, and maybe even Trey Mooney will come in for an Elliott Whitehead. But Elliott Whitehead and Corey Horsburgh, that doesn't scream fresh. Maybe Trey Mooney can be that player. But I like squads that have added to their team. It might be a similar issue with the Panthers when we get to them. But
when you look at the Raiders and you go, who are their superstars? And who's going to change a game for them? You got Whiten.
Yes.
Tarpany showed that he could as a genuine middle in that middle third.
If any middle could.
He can.
Yes.
The next has to be Savage. If there are any chance of really pushing into that top 8, Savage needs to go to that next level. Savage,
Whiten, Fogarty, Woolford is your spine. So Woolford came in last year and had a really good season.
Yeah.
I actually think he's a clever dummy half.
He is, but he's not going to change a game for you, I don't think. And I think, he'll benefit off the back of a proper preseason in first grade, right? Because he was last man standing at 9 and did such a good job to fill that void. But I just don't think he's in the top echelon of hooker.
Yeah, well, probably not. But I've seen him play a lot of lower grade footy, under 20s and New South Wales Cup. He's that smart hooker. He probably doesn't have the speed of an Appy Coruscant, but he, down short sides and exploiting numbers and throwing cutout passes to players running into space. We've seen him do all that in the lower grades. Now, taking it to the next level is going to be a big ask. But he's that mature age one that you go, well, hang on, it's now or never, so I might as well throw everything at it.
And, his vision comes from playing a lot of footy. He's played a lot of footy in that lower grades and against men, so that's not going to be his issue. I think he was, and you can understand why, he tired in the back end of the year.
Of course.
So once he gets a full pre-season and have that rotation with Starling and Levi, is he a walk-up start in that 17?
Where do the Raiders finish for you in 2023?
They'll be on that 6th to 10th cusp.
There's a lot of sides there. Yeah, there's a lot. I've got them running 10th.
Yeah.
Just outside the 8, but running 10th. So